Designing apps is like making Maggie. Everybody has their own process. Some like it plain or some like it with veggies. Some even like it straight out of the box. In today's session, we'll talk about, is there even a perfect process to design UX? Hi there, welcome back to Dropout Academy's UX Design Foundation course. This is session 2. My name is Mayur Karodia. I am the co-founder and CEO at Dropout Academy and your instructor for the course. In the last session, we talked about what is UX design and how it can make your product go from zero to hero. But how? What's the secret sauce? What is the process of creating great user experiences? So let's dive deeper into the process of UX design. You might ask, is there even a process of designing something? Isn't designing something that's creative, that just comes out of your heart? Well, not exactly. In fact, there are multiple processes to design UX. There's design thinking, deep dive, double diamond, Luma, and a lot more. But the most popular of these is design thinking. ये word याद कर लो क्योंकि बार-बार अब आप ये word सुनने वाले हो. As a designer, you will be learning and hearing about this word a lot because that is the core of designing great products. Design thinking process was given by the world's most popular design firm, Ideation. This is the same firm that has worked with brands like Apple, Oracle, and Coca-Cola. The reason why design thinking is so much popular is because it's a framework that can be used to design anything, from needle to a rocket. It's essentially a problem-solving framework which can be used to solve any problems, from fixing a broken coffee machine to your relationships. I am not kidding. Because of its versatility and scalability, most of the designers in the world use this process. So, already curious to know what this process is? Let's dive deeper into it. Design thinking is a 5-step process. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. In the empathize stage, you find out who your target audience is. Who are the people who could be using your product, your website, or your app? For example, Netflix target audience is millennials. Cred's target audience is high-income working professionals. So once you identify your target audience, you try to put yourself in their shoes. You try to understand their behaviors, how do they work, what are the challenges they face, what are the goals and aspirations they have. Basically, you try to empathize with them. But how do you do that? Randomly go up to a person and say, "Hi, I want to understand your needs." That would be really creepy. Well, you don't have to do that. There are actually systematic processes to do that. Some of these processes to empathize with your users are user surveys, user interviews, field studies, diary studies, etc. No matter which process you choose. But always remember, if you can empathize with your users, you can create designs that truly delight them. And once you have understood about your users' goals and aspirations and problems, you move to the second stage, which is define. In this stage, you gather all the data that you have gotten about your users. You try to analyze each data and figure out what is the most relevant of all. You must have gotten a lot of challenges that your users are facing, but now you need to prioritize which of these challenges is the major one that you really need to focus on. Let me give you an example. Around mid-80s, elevators or lift were just being invented. People were crazy about them, like it could vertically transport you. But soon, the lifts started to lose their charm. People were not fascinated by them anymore. And one such incident happened in New York. So what happened was, there's a building and the residents started complaining that the lifts were very slow. They started to threaten the building owner that they are going to cancel their lease of their apartments if the elevators were not being made faster. Now this has concerned the building owners and the management because it was too expensive to reinstall the lifts or even make them faster. So they were just thinking about it. That was a problem that they were facing. But there was also a psychology student sitting beside them. He emphasized that he wanted to go talk to the residents and understand what the problem really was. Upon talking to the residents of the building, he actually got to know that the problem was not slower lifts, but the problem was that they were too bored while waiting in the lift lobbies. So essentially the problem was not that the lifts were slow, but essentially the people were bored waiting in the lobbies. So he came up with a simple solution. He just installed mirrors outside the lift lobbies. He thought that nothing is more fascinating than looking yourself in the mirror. So now people would just look at themselves in the mirror and the time would just pass by. They wouldn't even notice how slower the lifts were, and that has solved their problem. So this is a classic case of defining the problem statement. Earlier we thought that the problem was of slower lifts, but it was actually of people getting bored. Similarly, once you have defined your problem statement, you move to the third stage, which is ideate. In this stage, get your creative juices flowing. Come up with all sorts of ideas. Come up with multiple ideas. Doodle, brainstorm, sketch out, whatever you feel like. Remember that in this stage, no idea is bad. No idea is too crazy. The sole purpose of this stage is to just come up with all sorts of different ideas because you never know which might actually work. And you would be surprised to know, but there are actual strategies to come up with ideas as well. Yes, even if you are non-creative, there are strategies, there are hacks where you can come up with great ideas. There are techniques like body storming, scamper, crazy 8, and a lot of other things like that. These techniques can help you come up with multiple ideas in a very short span of time. Now, after you have generated ideas, you move to the fourth stage, which is prototype. Prototyping is a stage where you bring your ideas to life. You create working models of your your ideas and solutions. Think about how in our childhood we used to make paper boats. Those were nothing but prototypes of real boats, right? These working models or prototypes help you visualize your ideas so that you could take it to your users and get feedback from them, so as to understand which is working, which is not, what is the flaw in one idea, what could have been made better in the other idea. So it's basically to take your ideas out to life and play with them and understand if they are really working or not. And that you do in stage 5, which is test. In this stage, you give your prototypes to a target audience, to your users, and observe how they are using them. Are they finding them easy to use? Are they finding them difficult? Are they getting confused? Are they having fun while playing with them? What's working? What's not working? Basically, this is the stage which is all about learning, iterating, and improving your product based on real user feedback. Now let me explain the entire design thinking process with a live real case study. You must have heard of this app called Swiggy, right? I'm sure you must have also used it. So once when Swiggy team was analyzing their data, what people were ordering on the app, what they have realized is that people were ordering veg and non-veg dishes considerably, like almost an equal amount. But the dishes containing eggs were not being ordered that much. Initially, they thought that people probably in India do not like dishes with eggs that much. But then the designer eventually decided to research and talk to their users to understand what the real problem was. After talking to the users, what the designer has found out, when I tell you, you will both be surprised and it will bring a smile to your face. What they have realized is that in India, there are 3 types of people: vegetarians, non-vegetarians, and Eggitarians. I know, right? We have all had those kinds of debates. Anyway, so what they have realized is that in India, a lot of vegetarians also have egg, but they still call themselves as vegetarians. As per Swiggy's earlier logic, egg would fall in the non-vegetarian dishes. So for vegetarians, whenever they turn on the veg filter, the egg dishes would disappear, and hence they were not able to discover the dishes containing eggs, and hence the orders were less. So what initially seemed like a problem of people not liking egg, eventually came out that the people were not able to discover dish containing eggs. So what they eventually did was to move the egg from the non-veg filter to the veg filter, which is still currently live on their app and it's working perfectly fine. And this idea worked like a charm. This feature is still live on their app and it's working perfectly fine. So this is how, using design thinking, you can solve the problems of your users and make their experience better. If you're interested and keen on learning these kinds of case studies from real brands in a comic format, in a very interactive, fun way, there's a great website that has these kinds of case studies in a comical format. The website is www.growth.design. Do check it out, it's pretty cool. You'll learn a lot of good stuff and a lot of other terminologies related to UX. So that's pretty much about it. Hope you have learned about design thinking, the process to design good apps and websites. In the next session, we'll talk about some laws and principles of UX design. We'll talk about what wireframing is, and we'll take an example where you and me together can work on a project and we'll design something using the laws of UX design. Till then, thank you so much guys. Bye-bye.